We know we're all feeling the pinch of rising prices, whether it be at the grocery store, the local Tim Hortons, or anywhere in the mall. But the biggest price increases since COVID began seem to be coming at the gas pumps. Dan McTeague is the president of Canadians for Affordable Energy. Dan, is it solely the conflict in Ukraine that has caused this spike in the cost of gas?
Mike, it hasn't helped, but the real issue has always been underinvestment in the oil and natural gas sector. Canada has a lot of oil, has a lot of natural gas, but hard to get that product to market. Russia's invasion of Ukraine only really put a spotlight on how critical the situation was. That's only because Russia exports about 6 million barrels a day. By the way, Canada is not far behind, at about just under 4 million, above 4 million barrels a day. But unlike Russia, Canada doesn't have the capacity to get it to other markets. It can sell to the United States, and that's pretty much in there, unless you want to rail it down there. So a lot of this has to do with demand surging post-COVID. We're getting out of this. We've had several variations. And most importantly, the fact that a lot of oil companies simply cannot get financing to get product to market. So those who have oil are making a killing by simply selling to a market that needs more. And of course, for a lot of consumers, higher prices given the weakness in the Canadian dollar as well.
I remember in the early stages of COVID, when we were locked down, I was maybe filling my car with gas once every month and a half.
So the demand did drop and supply surged. At one point, Mike, back on the 20th or 21st of April, so almost 2 years ago, there was so much oil in the world and nowhere to store it that oil dropped to minus 37.63 a barrel. Never seen that before. That was, of course, to incentivize those who had storage capacity to take those spare barrels. Ever since then, the industry has really wisened up to the idea that it can't overproduce or it'll wind up doing serious damage to itself. You can't sell at a massive loss like that. So I think there's been a lot of takeaways. COVID has really shaken the world in a way that we could never have expected.
We are seeing now record prices for gasoline, but still we're seeing fluctuations. I checked gasbuddy.com, and I know you're familiar with that. But today in Niagara Falls, a 16-cent price differential from the lowest to the highest. Why?
Much of that is retail margin, and some of it, of course, is sweetheart deals and that a gas bar might get. I'm looking at 175.9. That means that for most gas stations, and I can run through the numbers here, almost every gas station here in our city will wind up having to pay about $1.13 for a liter of gasoline. That's wholesale. You have to add your federal tax of 10 cents a liter, your provincial tax of 14.7. You have to add your carbon tax of 8.84 cents a liter, and then you have to multiply that by 13%. Those are just numbers you cannot get away from. So if I'm a gas station owner, it's costing me about $1.67, $1.68 to buy my fuel. Anybody who's selling above that, that's called a retail margin. And that means they have to pay for their credit cards, they have to pay to turn on their pumps, their staff. Anyone below that 167, 168, well, they're selling something else and making money somewhere else, one way or another. There's no free lunch. My guess is that in a lot of these cases, they might be making money on premium. They might be getting what's called dealer support. Remember, a lot of refineries may be making 8 or 9 cents a liter themselves. They're willing to pass that on to some of the big players to move volumes. Important, Mike, because we're switching very soon in the next 2 weeks from less expensive winter gasoline to more expensive blends of summer gasoline. That happens everywhere across Canada by April 15th.
And we're going to see another price increase. Is it going to be a major one?
5 cents a liter. That one will be 5, and that follows a week Friday when we have yet another helpful helping of that wonderful carbon tax. That'll go up 2.5 cents a liter. So it's 2.21 multiplied by 13.13. So that's about 2.495 cents a liter. Call it 2.5. There's, by the way, another one on December the 1st, what I call the second carbon tax, clean fuel standard. That'll be 4 cents a liter. And then in 2023, not to get too far ahead of ourselves, the federal government will accelerate the impact of those carbon taxes, make them even more expensive as it raises prices about 38 cents a liter between now and April of 2030.